Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Ward 5 Neighborhood Advisory Board meeting. We're waiting for a couple more board members, but we're planning to start at 5:30. If you would like to give public comment on today's agenda, please fill out the public comment form up front and return it to me. Thank you. All righty, this is Staff Liaison Callie Shy for the record. We are going to call this meeting to order. I'm going to start with calling the roll. Bryce Chisholm,
Here.
Kathleen Arends, absent at this time. Kyla Bailey,
Present.
Mayumi Doyama,
Present.
Camila Ray,
Present.
Stephen York, absent at this time. Jessica Bullard Nolan,
Present.
Lindsay Darrow,
Present.
Megan Dettenmeyer, present. Corey Fredericks, absent at this time. Denzel Martindale. We have a quorum of the Ward 5 Neighborhood Advisory Board. All right, we are going to move to item A2, public comment. Our first item today is public comment. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the NAB agenda. The NAB may not take action upon any matter not agendized on today's agenda. When you are called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name and you will be afforded 3 minutes. If you are an attendee in the Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand at this time. I do not have any public comment forms. Is there anyone in Zoom who would like to make public comment under this item? Seeing none, we will move on. Was there a comment in Zoom? Okay, we will move on to the next item. There will be an opportunity to comment near the end of the meeting. Our next item is item A3, election of chair and vice chair. If there are any board members who would like to make a nomination or nominate themselves, please unmute your mic and begin speaking. Please make sure you state your name for the record as well.
Kayla Bailey, I nominate myself for chair.
Do we have a motion? I know everyone's new here, so if you need any help, just please let me know. Go ahead, yeah.
It might be helpful to understand a little bit if there's sitting members who have been on the NAB board for a while and know the ropes a little bit.
Sure.
For the new people, that might be
Sure.
nice.
That was Camila Ray for the record. So the only current member that has served on a NAB before, I believe, is Bryce Chisholm. I think, Denny, you have served maybe in past years, but if either of you would like to speak to your experience on a NAB, please feel free.
Well, I think that over the last few years, we've just been doing a rotating chair. And I don't know if that is the best. So if somebody wants to step up and do it, that's fine with me. And you're just basically going through the agenda item by item, and you keep everything flowing in good order.
And chairs will serve for about 1 year. So at the beginning of the meeting, and I believe every July, we'll come back and we'll nominate a new chair to give you a better idea. Are there any other nominations for chair?
Camila Ray for the record, I will nominate Kayla Bailey
All right.
for chair.
Would you like to make a motion, Cami?
I would like to make a motion for Kayla Bailey to be our chair.
Sounds great. Do we have a second?
Second, this is Jessica Bullard Nolan.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Can I have everyone unmute their mics? We'll do all those in favor again. Yep, and you might need to share. All right, perfect. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion passes. Next up, we have a election of vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Bryce.
All right, that was Denny Martindale for the record.
Camila Ray for the record, second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? All right, motion passes. All righty. We are going to move on to item A4, approval of the agenda for possible action. That is tonight's agenda, August 12th of 2025. Do I have a motion?
Jessica Bullard Nolan, I motion to or move to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Kayla Bailey, I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right, next up, we have item A5, the council liaison report. We have Councilmember Reese here.
Good morning. Friends, Devin Reese, for the record. A couple of things. First of all, my sincere thanks to all of you for serving in this capacity. Obviously, I am the Reno City Council member in Ward 5 and have served on the city council now for 7 years. With the exception of Bryce, and I know Denny well, I don't know all of you, and I'll look forward to meeting with all of you and getting to know you much better. But the process that you're embarking on tonight I know it doesn't seem like it right now, but it really is a key and critical function of our democracy and our democratic process. Citizen engagement is at its core, the thing which you have all said you want to do and be involved in and have some role in shaping the direction of Ward 5. I know that tonight there are seeming formalities. We haven't trained you all. No one is quite aware of what Robert's Rules of Order probably means or how a meeting is run. You'll figure that out, right? Those are things that we will help equip you with as we move forward in this process. Our staff are incredibly gracious and kind people, and they will want for your success. That being the case, you have taken the role that is the most important one, and that is you've raised your hand and said, I'm willing to serve in this capacity, right? Ward 5 has not had a NAB now in about the last year. If it has had one any more recent than that, it's been very difficult because we didn't have enough members to have a quorum. And so it's been probably very frustrating for Mr. Chisholm for sure, but other people in the community, because there are things that happen in the ward that you want to know about and that the community should know about, but for which there wasn't a venue or avenue for that. And so the city of Reno in its own process is going through a lot right now and trying to figure out and decide how it wants to see the future of neighborhood advisory boards and a lot of its other boards and commissions go. And so that you are here tonight, kind of throwing caution to the wind, making some choices about how to spend your evening away from your friends, your family, the comforts of home and probably dinner time speaks volumes about all of you. So my sincere thanks and gratitude for you. Again, I'll say I apologize that some of the things that you're seeing tonight are very formal. I wish it weren't the case that we had to have the election of the chair and the vice chair out of the gate, but in theory, the chair and the vice chair help to run the meetings. Those are the folks who will help you to navigate just the order of operations. The staff will do a good job of keeping you on track, but the chair can help to direct traffic amongst all of you, to call on people so that it's not a free-for-all. It's just sort of someone who keeps order over the meeting. The vice chair is like the assistant manager at the Wendy's, all the fat rolls downhill. You have to clean out the fat vats at the night. It just means that when the chair is not present, the vice chair will run and operate the meetings. Beyond that, I don't think there's a whole lot more that the chair or the vice chair have to do. And again, my apologies that we can't really get to the place where we're explaining all of that to you before you've done that. So Ms. Bailey, I'm so thankful that you agreed to nominate yourself, and then someone was supportive of that. Mr. Chisholm will help, I think, too, because he's been in this process for a while. I don't know where we are with onboarding all of you. Has anyone been onboarded yet? Okay, we're working on that too. Part of the issue when we redid the NABs is that we had folks who said, hey, I want to serve in this capacity, but I don't really know how to serve or why I really am interested. I just saw it online or a friend told me about it. I put my name in. You were kind enough to appoint me. I appointed folks who had an interest in Ward 5, right? And so the onboarding is going to be an iterative process. We're going to be working on how that training would roll out, and each of you will go through some basic training about what it means to sit on a body like this. What are some basic formalities and rules to it, although hopefully not too many. What do we have to do to keep ourselves out of like legal trouble? What shouldn't we be saying and what can't we be doing? That sort of thing. But our staff is in the process of remaking all of those rules. And we wanted to get the NABs going because we've got some projects going in Ward 5. So we didn't want to wait. So you all might have had a better chance to be in your position if we had onboarded you before we threw you up on the dais. But we here at the City of Reno just push you off the deep end of the pool and ask for you to swim. And that's what you'll each be doing in some ways tonight. So thank you for that. Third thing I want to talk about is just a little bit about me. Many of you do know me. Some of you I've known for 25 or more years. I am a fifth generation Nevadan. I am born and raised here, and I have three children. Well, I'll say I went to McQueen High School, went to Clayton Middle School, so grew up in the NAB. So I spent 37 of my 50 years on planet Earth in Ward 5. And so it is home to me, and I am happy and honored to be the representative for Ward 5. I live in the very far end of Ward 5. I live in Somerset. Where I make my home with my husband, our three children, my mother, our two dogs. I am a lawyer by profession in my life outside of this building, but For now, my focus has always been on the city council role. So I take a great deal of care and time to be a full-time council member, and I try to squeeze in practicing law on the side. My law partners think that's not very much and aren't very happy with me most days, but I know where my loyalties lie, and that is first and foremost to the city. The city of Reno is a tremendous place, and you'll get to learn about it sitting on this dais. You'll get to learn probably about things that you might not have contemplated, like what happens when I flush the toilet? Where does it go? Right? What are calls for service and why does it matter? Right? What is our public safety response and apparatus? What do we need to know about how roads and potholes get fixed and filled? Right? All of those things are things that you will learn on this body. The city of Reno also offers a Citizen Institute, which is a really great and engaging process. Probably at some point in time, as you serve on this body, you'll have a lot of overlap between the knowledge that they provide there, but it might be another avenue for you to learn about the city of Reno. The city of Reno is nearly 2,000 employees, including seasonal employees. At the height of our summer, we'll have about 2,000 employees. Most of those are in police and fire, right? More than half of the city's employee makeup is our police officers and our firefighters. That's because our charter responsibilities as a city require us to have a police force, have a fire agency. So you'll learn about that. The time that you spend here will mostly be devoted to talking about things like public safety, how and why should we grow? Where should we grow? What areas in Ward 5 are capable of having new development? And so Ward 5 is not always the hotbed of activity. A lot more building and construction goes on to the north of us up in Ward 4. It goes a lot to the south of Reno, where there's been a tremendous growth over the last several years. Ward 5 is perhaps the most built out. Maybe Ward 1 was originally the most built out, but now it's going through its own processes related to infill development, right, as it changes. So Ward 5 does not have a ton of development. It has some, and some of that has happened out in the Mogul Verdi environment. Some of it's happened around the edges, and some of the projects you may see tonight may pique your interest about how that development occurs. And so you'll get firsthand access to all of that. I will say for myself, that like this is your first NAB, this is my first NAB as well, right? I was originally elected to the Reno City Council as the at-large member, and the at-large member is no longer a seat on the council. It changed in the last legislative cycle and in the last election cycle. And so I did not have a NAB for the first 6 years that I was on council. So I'm now into month 6 of being on the other side of it, and I have a NAB, and we had to restart it and get you all in going. So this is my first NAB meeting too. What I will tell you, because as the at-large member, I visited with all the other NABs, is that the NABs are often a creature of the person who is the NAB member, the council liaison, but that's not how I view it. I do not expect for all of you to be an extension of me. Although I appointed all of you, I wish for you to be an independent body. I don't want for you to look over in the corner and see me sitting there and think, well, what would Councilman Reese want us to say or do in this circumstance? It's not for me to decide how you operate on this dais, and I certainly wouldn't want to influence any of you to operate in a way that is inconsistent with your core values as a person. So you may see me very quietly in the NAB, right? You may also not see me at all. If there's something that I think is particularly important, I'm obviously here on the agenda always to come and discuss those issues. I can also provide context, but we do have great staff to help you through and navigate some of the things. But it is not my role to stare at all of you and influence the decisions that you make on the body. Again, I said that other NABs run differently. Each NAB, again, has its own flavor. Each council member runs their NABs in a different way. My choice is to allow you all the independence that we hope that you bring to the seat, right? Instead of me hoping that you'll be some clone of me. I hope you will not be. We need folks who have different views. We want people to have robust and coherent, but also kind debates among one another about the things that come in front of you. So I will be a very quiet wallflower for most of my time in these meetings because I think this is your time and not mine. I'm a little longer tonight because it's all of your first time. It's my first time. Staff is trying to work through some things. So I just had a couple more things to go over with you. I am always available to all of you. right? I did ask each of you and appoint each of you to this body. You've done me a kindness by accepting that invitation. You can always reach out to me by email, my phone number, all those things the clerk's office has, and they're on cards over here to my left. I'm happy to go to coffee with any of you. A couple of you have already taken me up on that opportunity, either and come to the coffees or reach out to me personally as you applied. I try to return all my phone calls the same day they're made to me. I try to return my emails within the hour that they're made to me if I am able. Sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. I'm sure it's true for all of you, but I do believe in being responsive. So if you need me for something and have a question about an issue that is important to you and important to Ward 5 and your families or friends, please reach out to me. Happy to sit down anytime with you or communicate by email, that sort of thing. The last thing I will say is what I started with, which is a great thanks to each of you. This is the very modicum of decency that you can impart to your community by serving this capacity. It's not particularly sexy. It does not garner news. It's not supposed to be a political a show. Lots of folks who end up in my seat sometimes started out on their NABs. Sometimes that's where people get the training to sit in those seats. We've had lots of folks who came to their political life by being on a NAB. But we also have lots of people who just want to serve on the NAB and have a role in their neighborhood, and they're much more quiet about what it is. Whatever your path is, please take care to follow the direction that you get from staff, to ask hard questions, to demand excellence from each one of your colleagues. It's the same thing that we do when we sit there as a council, and we'll do that tomorrow at 10 a.m. Also, of course, is an open invitation to come down and see us in council. Sometimes watching us in council, or even watching online, as I think some people may be tonight, you kind of figure out that when a person makes a motion, someone else has to second it, and then we're all going to say aye or nay. It will seem less formal as you get more used to it. And by the end of tonight, hopefully all of you will have had the chance to say what you wanted to say or to make a motion, all those things. It's not supposed to be scary, even though as folks who have probably gotten to a certain place in life, very few things scare us, but they often say the thing that's most scary is public speaking. It's what I do for a living, so I've never had that problem. But newness and unfamiliarity sometimes breeds that. So those are the things I wanted to share with you tonight. And of course, it's an iterative process, so you may also ask me questions, and happy to answer any questions that you might have of me tonight. That can happen now, or it can also happen as any items come up where you need my particular input. So again, thank you so much for serving. I appreciate it so very greatly. Any questions from anybody about me or what we're doing here or anything? No?
I'll just say thanks, Devin. I know we've been back and forth about the meetings and all that. I've seen this body go from a full body to just 3 of us or so on the board up here. And then not to have meetings for the last 9 months or so was pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, what is going on with the city? And I felt a lack of communication from the city. And then when I finally heard back from the city, it was new people. And so I knew there was a lot of turnover and a lot of stuff happening. I know that was budget and city manager and all that. So I'm grateful to see that it's full and we have, everybody's here. And so thank you for, getting the board going again.
Yeah, happy to have played a role. Our council very much values the input that community boards have. We are still struggling about how to best engage with people. There are some very significant conversations that will occur tomorrow in city council about the role of neighborhood advisory boards. I think we've all concluded, at least my colleagues on that body, that there is considerable value to the neighborhood advisory boards. But we also have something like 14 other boards and commissions, all of which have unfortunately had different rules, memberships, stages to their lives. And like you said, sometimes they're very active and engaged and everyone wants to be on, just insert parks and recreation. Other times the board, through its own sometimes neglect, sometimes it's the time of life, sometimes it's the leadership of people on the board, they'll go up and down. My hope is that this body will be a robust representation of the ward and that people will serve in the capacity as long as they desire to do so. There are, of course, limits to how many terms you can serve and how many terms you can serve consecutively. But we're just wanting to make sure that we're reaching people where they want to be reached. Coming to City Hall on a random Tuesday night once a month is not always high on everybody's priority list, but I think you'll find it very rewarding, right? You'll learn something, you'll give something of yourself. And Bryce, you know, we've known each other a long time and you've lived in the ward a long time. I've knocked on your door when those times came. I appreciate you being here and continuing to fight the good fight, because it could have been easier to just say, I'm going to go watch NFL football on Monday nights or whatever. Appreciate that you haven't done that.
I'll just say for like city council tomorrow, I know that one of the talks has been like having this a development only board. And so I would hope that you would stay away from that, because this is a sounding board for the people to come here and say what they need to say.
It's not for me to decide what you want to talk about. It's for all of you to decide what you want to talk about.
Well,
So-
yeah, but I know that was one of the discussions, is we would only be reviewing development projects.
Yeah, I think that again, when things come in front of the council, what you should know as engaged citizens is it doesn't mean that the item is fully baked, right? It's an idea, it's a thought process that comes from the outreach that happened on that particular item. And then it comes back to the council in packaged in a way that we can then debate it, right? So I think my colleagues have said, hey, the important and most pressing thing that happened in NABS is often about development, but it doesn't mean there isn't space to also talk about, hey, what are the crime statistics going on in this ward? Or what are we going to do about this item? That will largely be driven by all of you to decide what you want to see at it. I will tell you that there's considerable resources that go into organizing a NAB. You can see we've got 3 staff people here tonight. They've obviously, most of them already put in a long day. So we're just trying to balance the needs that you all have for information with our ability to provide that information, especially in what has been a very challenging budgetary system that we're in. So I think tomorrow we'll have a robust conversation about all the boards and commissions. I think we're getting closer to being able to wrap that discussion up. And so hopefully it will be one that makes your point and be happily made. Other questions, comments, thoughts? It would also probably be, I think, a nicety if we just start on one side, go down the row, and everyone can introduce themselves. If you want to say what your favorite ice cream is, great. What you do for a living, I think it would help everyone to break the ice a little bit. So I wanted to end with that. If no one has more questions for me, we'll just start over here with Jessica and go down the road. Just say what you want to say about yourself, why you've decided to be here. Some people will tell you, they've got 5 kids, they're all at Westergaard, and that's why they're here. Whatever you want to say.
So my name is Jessica Bullard Nolan, and I live in the Old Northwest. So here in Ward 5, Kings Row. I'm married, 2 children, 2 cats, and a dog, and I love ice cream, all flavors except chocolate. And I actually work here for the city.
Okay, welcome.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Corey Fredericks. I have lived in the Northwest my whole life. I am also 5th or 6th generation Nevadan. I'm not sure, honestly.
And your pride?
Yes, I went to McLean, Billinghurst, all the fun stuff. I'm sorry, I was a little bit late. My child is going into kindergarten, my oldest. So he had school. We're doing all the fun beginning school stuff. I think I even maybe work in the area. I work at Patagonia, although I'm actually a children's therapist. Not related at all. I love Patagonia.
Me too.
It's a great place to work. And I wanted to be more involved in it. So I think this is a great way to start.
Love that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Darrow. I am a parent in the area. I live in the Old Northwest. My kids go to Washoe County schools and play sports in the area. So interested in things that can increase our quality of life and have more activities for, places for kids to recreate, those sorts of things. I'm a professor at UNR in the School of Public Health. And that's about it.
I love that. Thank you so much. One of the other roles I serve in is I chair the Northern Nevada Public Health. So I am the chair of the District Board of Health. So I'm learning a lot.
Glad to be here.
Hi, my name is Cami LeRae, and I live in Verdi. I'm a native Northern Nevadan from Battle Mountain, but I went to UNR and have pretty much been here ever since, except for the stint where I was gone for 15 years chasing my Army husband around. So with his retirement, we moved back to the area. Luckily found an affordable house before 2019 in Verdi. So we're happy there. My son just graduated from Washoe County School District from McQueen. And yeah, he's going into University of Nevada, Reno, moving him out this weekend. So I became a part of this because I love Reno. I mean, we came back here when I got married. I said, this is the deal. We're coming back to Reno. And I love the area. It has so much promise. I love the potential that we have here. The environment is just beautiful, and I want to protect that aspect of it and see our culture sort of center around all the great things that we have in store for our kids and our future here. So that's why I'm doing this.
Well, thank you to your husband's service and for your willingness to put up with it.
Hi, Bryce Chisholm. I live on the Old Northwest Las Brisas area. I think I've been on here for like 2 years now. I have 2 kids at Billinghurst and McQueen. I've been very active. This is my 3rd board, and now I'm on a 4th one with the airport. And I really do this because I like development, or I don't like all development, but I'm
Like
interested in
good
it.
development.
I'm interested in development, and I like to see how it works with the amount of parking spaces, how it's working, and to make sure that it all works out, because I see a lot of times that there's not enough parking spaces and it overflows into other neighborhoods and it causes issues and problems. So I try to like keep an eye on that kind of stuff. And I really wanted to step away after these last few months. But even when I try to step away, I'm still like reading about everything and staying updated with everything. So I guess I'm still interested. So, so I'll be here.
You're an artist.
I'm an artist. I'm a painter. Yes.
Yep. Just want to
So-
make sure people knew. A
Yes.
very
Thank you.
talented artist. Real
Yes.
sad.
Thank you.
Denny.
I'm Denny Martindale. As my thing says Denzel, but I got that name from my dad, who was 12 of 13 kids. He liked it, but I didn't. I'm actually retired at this point. I just recently stepped away from my son-in-law's program, Reno High's We the People program. Been involved with that. Actually, I started that in 1988. I was president of Partners in Education. And so I've been on many, many boards throughout the community, chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, and a number of things, been in the construction industry, worked at the university. So I've been involved in this community quite a bit. And we've lived up in the Northwest since we came here in 1985. I guess I'm a native now, if I've been here that long. So, and just my wife loves the 4 seasons, so that's why we have to stay up there. We can't move anyplace else. And when I got away from We the People, my wife said, you need something to do. I previously sat on this board when it was a combination of Washoe County and the city of Reno. Way back when we met down below the fire station, and that's where we held our meetings. And so I've had some experience with that. And it's just important that you're involved in the community. When, you know, we talk to the high school kids about their involvement, and if you're not involved, how can you commit to kids to be involved? In fact, I just had 3 of my young ladies that were in my unit for We the People. They finished 5th in the nation, by the way. They're heading off to college, and I just had them for lunch over yesterday. And you just have to follow what they're doing, and they look at you, what are you doing? And so it's important to be involved in the community, and this is how I chose to be that way.
Particular group because they took on a very challenging question about homelessness. So I had the privilege of working with them, and those young ladies were tremendous. One of their parents, Rick Shu's daughter, was also, and I was with him yesterday, but what a great program. Thank you for doing that.
My name's Megan Duttenmeyer. I am a parent. I have lived in Reno since 2019, so definitely not a local. Wouldn't dare call myself a local, but I love this community. I have two kids, a second grader, a fifth grader. I'm Amy Tolles. I live off Kings Row. You'll often see me riding my e-bike. We are one of the few families that still ride our bikes to school. I'm very keen to see our community become more walkable, more safe, less big box stores, and just create more of an atmosphere that isn't centered around the American vehicle. So I love this sort of setting. I work for the Nature Conservancy. I'm in communications. I'm a wildlife biologist by trade. I have my master's degree, and I'm a baseball coach. And I'm also on the Urban Forestry Committee or Commission if it doesn't get disbanded tomorrow. So I will cross my fingers.
You're gonna be okay.
So I am grateful to be here, and yeah, just excited to see what we do. And I know nothing about the process, so forgive my ignorance when it comes to these things.
Thank you for being here, Megan.
Hi, I'm Kayla Bailey. I have lived in Northwest Reno for as long as I can remember. My husband is also a Northwest Reno native. We have two amazing kids. My oldest is a senior at McQueen this year and working to graduate with honors. So we're super proud of her. And then my youngest goes to Roland Melton. We live up in the Northgate area off of Beaumont Parkway. I love our community. I have a huge servant heart. I do so many other things other than the Neighborhood Advisory Board now. I also chair the Political Action Committee for the Sierra Nevada Realtors. So I have a lot of experience being a chair, and I'm the incoming president for the Women's Council of Realtors. And I've also founded a very successful nonprofit. This is our first birthday, actually, that supports small women-owned businesses in Northern Nevada. So I have a big heart for our community, and even bigger heart for our neighborhood. I love Northwest Reno. I wouldn't live anywhere else. And I really am grateful for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and be of service to our neighbors, because I really think that Northwest Reno is one of the most specialist neighborhoods in our area. It's very unique. We have a lot of multi-generational families there. So it's important that their voices are heard and that we are here to help support them in their vision for what the community should look like.
And Chair Bailey, you have been integral in an exciting project up off Apollo Way. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
The project off of Apollo Way?
Yeah, the dog park.
Oh, yes. So we are working with the city of Reno and our ward to put in a new dog park. We had a community outreach day where we organized a cleanup, and we went out there in the boiling hot sun and pulled weeds and cleaned up that this abandoned park. It was, I think, a community garden at some point, but that's going to be Northwest Reno's newest dog park, and that's going to be over by the Northwest swimming pool. So keep your eyes out for that. It's going to add a lot of charm to the neighborhood, and it's going to be a really great addition.
So Kayla came with some other realtors to the city of Reno and said, hey, we've got both humans and money, and we want to fix this. You said it was a park. I would say it was like an abandoned.
It's an abandoned lot.
Abandoned lot, which was overgrown. And we did try to attack it with some ferocity in the heat. I would say we made a market improvement, but what I will tell you, and for all the members, we'll probably do an update about this at the next meeting. We've got the city of Reno fully supportive, and they'll be out there doing a lot of the major site grading and clearing of that park. So it will have the ability, with the realtors' help, to be Northwest Reno and Reno's newest dog park. So when you get engaged on this body, as Chair Bailey has done, you really can impact very specifically and through a project basis the kind of things that you want to be. So it's like being the change you want to see, and you've been a model of that. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Last but not least, you'll have to push that over there and share the mic.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mayumi Doyama, and I live in Northwest Reno. I actually walk by that lot every day on my morning walk, so I'm so excited to see what happens with that project. I'm a recently new transplant to Reno. Before this, I was living in Massachusetts, but I've been here for about 3 years now. I'm just, excited to be on this board, to learn more about the city, to learn more about these processes and what we can do to improve our ward, make it a better place to live. I'm an avid cyclist and I love riding my bike around. So I'm definitely excited to see more safety improvements and walkable cities and cycling infrastructure. And I actually also work at Patagonia as well. So it's great to see a fellow colleague here. Thanks so
Well,
much.
Fabulous. And thank you all for your introductions. I'll give you a round of applause. I appreciate you very greatly for sharing a little bit about each of you. It's always nice when you know a little bit about everybody before you put them in the category of friend or enemy, R or D, nonpartisan, all the things that divide us. What I heard was a lot of things that make us all very much the same, which is a love for this place, a love for the things that we can do to improve it, and a willingness to serve. So thank all of you for this again. Great introductions. I'm going to give my piece a rest and sit down and be the wallflower I promised I would be and turn it over to our staff. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Reese. Our next item is item A6, the staff liaison report. So hi, everybody. I'm Callie Shy. I'm your new staff liaison. I'm the staff liaison to all of the NABs. I'm also the staff liaison to the Planning Commission. So I came here from the Planning Department, now with the city manager's office. I also moved to Reno in 2019. I'm from Las Vegas and I came up here to go to college, but I've been with the city since June of 2023. I'm excited to join you all in this position. This is my third NAB, so don't fret if you're new to this. I'm new to this as well. We'll get through it together. That's me. I'm always available. Everyone here should have my number and my email, so please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Alrighty, with that, we'll move on to the B items, the development project review. We have some presentations for this. I just want to give you an overview since we're all new here. We'll have the applicant provide a presentation. After the presentation has concluded, you're free to ask questions of the applicant. We'll ask if there's any public comment, and then if you'd like to discuss anything about the project, you're more than welcome to do so. Please make sure, we've already seen it, but make sure you're sharing your mics, and before you speak, state your name for the record. So we'll pull up the first presentation. It's for LDC 26-00002, the Milnes Family Major Site Plan Review. We have the applicant's representative here to give a presentation. I will pull that up for you. Righty, let's get this sharing. Oh. Where's mine? There we go. All right, go ahead, Eric.
Good evening. My name is Eric Hasty. I'm with Wood Rodgers. I'm representing the applicant, the Milnes family. Tonight, I'm just here to talk to you about a major site plan review that's specifically for the grading of the site. So the project boundary is 5.6 acres. It's outlined there in blue. And you can see the 3 parcels that it's going to cover. 2 of those parcels to the north are owned by the applicant. The one to the south is owned by the city of Reno. There is an access easement that we will be using to go through this property and connecting into Peavine Pines Court. Because this is just related to grading, that's why we have a weird project boundary there. It's just looking at the grading limits. So considering the master plan, we have a mix of single family residential and then parks, greenways, and open space. The zoning, there was a zone change request that went through earlier this year. That is being processed currently. It's going to the city council tomorrow for the second reading. So it's already been approved by the planning commission and once by the city council. Tomorrow will be where it's finally there. And then this will be the zoning designation. So LLR1 is large lot residential, 1 acre lots are allowed on that. And then parks, greenways, and open space. So looking at the actual grading plan, really what this comes down to is it's a private driveway to serve a single family home. The private driveway will connect into Peavine Pines Court. Again, there is a relocatable easement you could see to the left of the grading limits there where it comes down into Peavine Pines Court. So that easement will be relocated to match the boundaries of the grading once this, if this is approved. This is triggered. Typically, you don't have to have a grading permit come before public, but because of these 3 reasons right here, which are in code, we are proposing cuts deeper than 20 feet and fills exceeding 10 feet. Those are mainly those are gonna be located up there where the house pad is. There is a major drainage way that goes through the property as well. So a major drainage way is anything that is like a seasonal creek or something like that, that drains more than 100 acres. If you are disturbing or proposing grading within there, it will trigger this request. And then the portion of the city of Reno parcel is with the PGOS zoning. So the grading in there, that's what's triggering this major site plan review. So again, the reasons why we're proposing this is basically to build a driveway to serve a future single family home. There will be also utilities that are extended, mostly just power and gas up to serve the site. Generally speaking, where the driveway is located is generally in alignment with Peavine Pines Court. Previous developments up here, this was also known as Ventana Point. If anybody's familiar with that development, previously approvals had 70 lots on here. Again, we're just proposing one with this. We are not proposing any walls with this. The way that the slopes are going to meet where the roadway is are 2-to-1 to 3-to-1 slopes, which would just be natively seeded and hopefully blend in with the native vegetation after a few years. For the crossing of the major drainage way, we are proposing a conspan bridge, which is just like the corrugated metal pipes that go over it. That's really to serve 2 purposes. One is to not have as much disturbance in the major drainage way as would be required for a culvert or something that's traditionally used. The owner is really interested in preserving as much of the natural landscape on this property as he can, especially in the major drainage way as well as the trees. So we did look at the alignment considering both of those, trying to find the best area to cross, the most narrowest point to cross on the major drainage way. And then it really wraps up before it gets to the house pad to the north a lot more, just to really avoid a lot of the trees that are on the site. Again, looking at the access road or the driveway coming down into Peavine Pines Court, right? This is along the southern portion that is within the city of Reno property. And you can see that there was previous developments where there was concerns of headlights shining into the back of those people's rear yards there. And so with this alignment, we tried to match it up with Peavine Pines Court as much as we could. Obviously, with this new proposal, there's going to be a lot less traffic on here. And this is a private drive. It's not going to be a public road as was proposed before. I kind of already talked about the trees. There's like over 300 trees on site, and only 3 of them will have to be removed for this grading. So we've submitted this application to the city. We're here at the Ward 5 NAB. The city of Reno will continue to process this application. They will make their recommendation to the Planning Commission, and that is tentatively scheduled for September 3rd. My information's up there. If you guys have any additional questions, I'm also happy to answer any questions you have right now. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Do any of the board members have questions? Go ahead, unmute yourself, state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Denny Martindale. How many pads are you building up there on the top?
This is just for one house.
One house?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any precedent that has been set for cut and fills up there? I know there's some development of this house is a little bit lower. Did they have cut and fills in there that they had to get approvals for?
So those are those houses are within a planned unit development, and typically, when they go through that process, would not have to trigger this because it's all contained within the planned unit development, the PUD handbook. So I'm not sure to answer your question, but yeah, those houses that are located in Somerset or any other planned unit development, different triggers for that. So
How close are you to the outer limits of the city of Reno at that point?
so this is, I believe there's one more property, these two properties that are on here. Let me see if I can go back to show. I don't know. Okay, so that dashed line on that to the north, that black dashed line, that is the city of Reno limits. So you'll see there's one other property to the north of that. That's also owned by the applicant. And so technically it's on the city boundary.
And I guess this comes from my experience back in the other NABs, that way back when there was a desire to not go up the mountain on Peavine Mountain. There was a so-called a sacred place. Do we, as a staff, do we know what the plan is? Is there a master plan or a master vision as far as what are we going to do with Peavine Mountain? Are we going to keep going up? Are we going to keep, topping off tops? What's the vision, I guess, is my question and concern for that.
I can't speak to the vision of the city of Reno, but just specifically for this property, that's the reason why we proposed the zone change. Because the previous zoning would allow up to 77 lots, I believe. And so with the zone change that went through with the LR1 zoning designation, that leaves about 38.5 acres of LR1. So if you just take that straight density, that would be about 38 homes that you would be able to put up there. He's proposing one, so.
Do all the cut and fills balance on the site, or do you have to lose the material?
I believe it's balanced. I'm not sure though.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Kayla Bailey, I have a question for you. Have you guys done any studies on the impact of disturbing that major drainage, and will it be relocated? How do you guys, I'm just concerned about repercussions because there's not a lot of vegetation over there and we get a lot of heavy rains out of nowhere sometimes. The drainage ditches in the Peavine Canyon are extremely important. So how are you guys going to handle that?
Yeah, Eric Casey again for the record. So with these applications, you're required to do a major drainageway analysis by an environmentalist. And so that was performed, and really the reason, like I was saying, the reason for the Conspan Bridge is to stay out of that. So we're not proposing any grading within the actual drainage way itself. And then we have designed it to go up to the ordinary high water mark. So that's the 100-year flood level. And we're going to be stepped back a couple feet from there. So the grading itself will not impact that. And any 100-year storm event should not have, it should still be in the natural state. So.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What's the footprint of this house?
I am not sure because so this is just for grading. He told us what the pad that he wanted. We have not had any conversations with the architect or anything like that at this point. If this gets approved, then it'll have to go in for final map with the city of Reno, and that's where they'll have the actual layout of the house and all that.
Okay, and has the environmental impact statement been done already?
So there isn't really an environmental impact statement. There is a major drainageway analysis that's required for this proposed development. So.
And is it done in-house or is it done by an external contractor?
So for this particular one, they hired in-house, and then it's reviewed by the city of Reno.
And is that public?
Yes.
So it's already been done?
The major drainage analysis has been complete, and you can view it online. Yeah.
Cool. My name is Megan Dettenmeyer for the record. One more question about the 100-year flood. I think we all recognize that with climate change, these 100-year, 500-year flood limits are becoming much more frequent.
Mhm.
And while I'm not a hydrologist, I think it's worth looking at that and perhaps rethinking basing big decisions like this on something that maybe once was a trusted benchmark for 100-year flooding, which may now be more commonly like 20-year flooding or 50-year flooding. So I just wanted to say that for the record.
Jessica Bullard Nolan for the record. How does this impact infrastructure planning in terms of like fire evacuation route for, it's right up at the edge of like a lot of green and open space, and it's kind of up in the hills, and it takes a ways to get to from any freeways. And I know the fire station's up off Charlins. How does this, with the grading and the site planning, how does it factor in with the infrastructure support for like fire and police services, as well as even public access and encroachment to try to get to those open spaces?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Eric Hasty again. So for fire access or fire infrastructure, right? So this is one home. Again, it's a lot less than the 70 homes that could potentially be up there. But either way, we still have to design to the fire code standards. So what we're proposing on the driveway is a 26-foot wide driveway, which is a lot wider than most driveways. And that is the minimum for fire code to have 2 vehicles pass in and out on there. Fire will review this, or has been reviewing this application as well, and they'll make sure that it meets all the fire codes for that, and that they can service the site.
Bryce Chisholm, I just want to say that I think it's actually a positive because originally it was 70 homes that were going to be up there. And so being one home, and I think for the city and for tax reasons, you need these houses that are expensive and bring wealth into the town. So yes, I want to have the the drainages, looked at, and that to change from 100 years to a 20-year flood, that's in code. Like, so, I mean, you're just have to go up to the code right? So I see this as a positive. That's one home, I guess.
Cami LeRae for the record. So you're asking for a variance in the cut, right? I think one of the slides, like it's a little bit out
So
of
it's not,
code, right?
it's-
Would you sort of explain that again?
so you can't really see it right here, the neighborhood advisory board things kind of covering it up, but it's not really necessarily a variance. There we go. It's not really necessarily a variance. It's just if you are cutting over 20 feet or filling higher than 10 feet, it just has to go through an additional process.
I
right?
see.
So that's what this is. And then, so you can see on the house pad there, the darkest red is where the cuts are. I think it's like 29 feet, 29.4 feet is where that cut is. And then the highest fill is 25.5 feet. So that's the dark blue is the fill for the highest fill. So the road itself, it doesn't really trigger this. It's the house pad.
Yeah, I see that. So as far as mitigating for any kind of erosion, anything like that, because that's where the spirit of something like this, I would think, sort of, points to. So how would this project mitigate for that? And then I'll understand.
Yeah, exactly. So that's some of the things that the city is reviewing right now, and that's what we're going to be, that we're discussing. So what we've proposed right now is for all the 2-to-1 slopes, right, which is the less steep slopes, we're proposing to revegetate that with the native seed mix. And then there will be another geotech report that will test the soils once we get closer to actually grading in there. And either the 3-to-1 slopes will either be treated with that same native seed mix, or if they are not up to par, then they will have to have riprap on them. So just like with the crushed up rock.
Are there any additional questions or comments for the applicant's representative? All right, seeing none, we are going to check in on public comment for this item. I do not have any requests to speak forms, but I do have a Zoom participant with their hand raised. Kathy, if you are prepared to make public comment on this item, please unmute yourself and state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Kathy Scholl, and I live in the Old Northwest area and have been here off and on since 2014. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing this. I just have a quick question about runoff because we are having more intense events. We just had one just a few weeks ago, and we had just in our yard a lot of erosion that happened. So I'm just curious if there was if there was a big event. I don't know the area, that specific site very well, but what if there was effects to some of the homes down below? Would there be any recourse for those particular homes that may be affected? Maybe they won't, but maybe, can you address that? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Kathy. Alrighty, I do not have any more public comment cards and no one else in Zoom has their hand raised at this time. So we are going to move on to the next development item. That is LDC 26-00007. We have a presentation from the applicant's representative. Let me pull that up for you.
Can you hear me okay? These mics are different. They used to be up here and my voice would carry right over the top. Now they just capture everything. So thank you. I've been to a lot of NABs over my career and I find this amazing. There's 11 people. So I want to share with you guys that I am impressed and I appreciate your service to this community because as Councilman Devin Reese pointed out, this is a great place to have some purpose and formation of projects. And I really mean that because I've seen it my whole career and it's good to see a board of 11 people. My name is John Krompatek. I'm with KLS Planning. I am representing Rob Fitzgerald. He's a developer builder in the region for many years. We've worked together for many years and he's had this site in his ownership for several years. So our civil engineer is here as well if we have any questions that get real technical on civil engineering. This is Riverbend tentative map we submitted to staff recently for an 82 lot single family, which is a townhome development on 9 acres and a conditional use permit for cluster development per the code and the regional utility corridor relocation. There's the site in Verdi, the Edenburg traffic circle, which is roundabout actually in this case on Highway 50 is the programmed access for this property so that we don't have, it's a well thought out access point. You can see it on that exhibit. To the west, we've worked a lot with the Glen Meadows, which is actually River Oaks subdivision that's been there for many years. That is in Washoe County. And then the east is another property adjacent to this that Mr. Fitzgerald owns. Is this working okay? There we go. Did you do that or did I?
You did do that.
You did that. Can I do that? There's the current city zoning map. This parcel is SF8 adjacent to GC. LDU on the west is in Washoe County. That's 10 per acre. And then the planned development to the north, which is West Meadows Estates. And then all of the county environmental piece you can see to the south, particularly the river and the adjacent zoning, which is open space. There's the project as we have it sit in the context of the aerial. You can generally see what's going on. I mentioned the access point, private streets. We have it gated, a fair amount of open space, enhanced open space within common area in this case. The wildlife corridor on the west and on the east, that's important. It came up in several different community meetings that we have had with River Oak and the Verdi Coalition. And obviously there's a big gap there. There is a significant amount of activity coming from the north, crossing the highway and headed to the river in terms of wildlife. So we have a nice corridor on both sides of the property. And then that open space parcel is key, I think, to the livability of this and what you're really buying into adjacent to the river. A little bit more about the project description. 82 units arranged in a duplex, one small unit, one larger unit, with a breezeway and a courtyard. Access, I mentioned, to Highway 40 with a gated entry. We have a fire access stub to Highway 40 as well. Common area is about 29% of the site, includes a tot lot play area, community garden, fenced dog park, 2 pocket parks, and wildlife viewing areas. And then the open space corridor between the two projects en route to the Truckee River. And this is more of a marketing thing, but certainly value to somebody that's going to be buying there. I think it's really important in the way we conceptualize the project and why we're doing what we're doing here. But the charm of Verdi with attainable home prices, that is single family home prices, is important here. A significant level of common area amenities, and then obviously the proximity and the access to the river. And we're really trying to make that a thing. When we've met with the HOA to the west, that's part of this process. And they said, can we go there? And Mr. Fitzgerald said, of course they can go there. That's right, part of community planning. Here's the parking. I know parking's such a big deal, and we've changed so much as a community. In the last code update, the big code update a couple of years ago, where we got real aggressive about not requiring parking in the urban areas, and it's backfired in some cases, but that was by design. And on these, suburban deals, I think we have to be really thoughtful, because the code is the code, but the market really knows, and the developer really knows what parking is needed. So you want to hit the mark. I mean, in my experience as a professional, you don't want a bunch of surplus parking, but you need adequate parking based on the size of units, the number of units, and so on. So what we have here, there's the concept of the 2 units with the courtyard parking, the 1-car garage, the 2-car garage, and then the driveway spaces. You can see 8 spaces there per duplex. And then there's the summary on the other side, which is the 2-car spaces, the 1-car spaces, the courtyard driveway parking, guest parking on street, and guest parking off street, for a total of 465 spaces. So you can see what is required per code, and then what we're providing as a necessary piece of the project design and amenity. Here is the CUP for the power line relocation. You can see in the dark blue line that traverses right through the fat part of the property. We've been working with NV Energy on this for years. And basically that's an obstruction to a lot of things visually, to the function of the property. So what we've worked with them on and have approval for at the NV Energy level, and now we have to go to regional planning because there's the regional utility corridor. This is an adjustment in that. And so that red line, which is the wraparound adjacent to the property along the highway, is the realignment. And there is a conditional use permit for that piece. There's the context of the streetscape in with Verdi in the background, and the Sierras, of course, the Carson Range, to give you a little more 3-dimensional view, and the river, of course, in the background. Here's been our community outreach. This stuff always takes longer than you think. So in 2023, I just wanted to share this with you guys because we've been very interested in meeting with the community, and this has been a target community in Verdi, obviously, with the River Oak and the Verdi Coalition. We started back in 23. Coffee meetings with community leaders, we had 2 of those. Then the River Oak HOA Board of Directors meeting. They're obviously a neighbor and important to the input, and we're trying to do the right thing and working with them and seeking their approval. Community development pre-application meeting in January, then River Oak Board of Directors 2 more times, And now here we are at the NAB meeting. That's over a, what is that, a 2.5-year span. There's the fat part of the sites facing south from US Highway 40 at the northeast corner of the site. It just gives you some perspective of what's on the site. Basically flat 2 or 3% grade, friendly for development. So we don't have those types of issues that are very common in development proposals now. It's frankly because of the topographic constraints we have and lack of flat land. And similar there too, you can see the power line. There's just a different perspective, but that will obviously come out of the heart of the property there. And that is right at the Edinburgh roundabout project entryway. So that's all I have. There's our team, Mr. Fitzgerald and his general manager, John Wolf. Brian Moon is our civil engineer, and myself and the planning side. So thank you all for listening, and look forward to your feedback.
Kayla Bailey, I'll go first. I have several questions. You mentioned obtainable housing prices, which I'm excited about. Can you describe what type of housing we're looking at? What are the unit sizes? Are they attached? The photo rendering looked like single family dwellings. So are there going to be 2 townhomes touching each other with a shared common wall? So yeah, just what are we looking at and what are the prices?
So the price, the house sizes go down from about 1,300 square feet to 2,000 square feet. They are, you can see this is physically detached, right? So that's that courtyard I was talking about with that fence in the foreground. And so it is, and I don't want to confuse you here, and this is everyday stuff in this business. The mapping says townhome, which it is, but is detached, as you can see in this. And the prices, if they were in market today, about $600,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
My next question is how many students do you project are going to be coming into the neighborhood? Verdi Elementary School is already overcrowded due to the new developments that are in there. And that's been a cry that I've heard for a really long time, is that we're overcrowding that school. So how many more students are we looking at?
We'll have to get the numbers from, you know, I know that an application review, Washoe County School District gets a copy. They do their population generation forecasts for all different levels of schools. And I think about 18%, you could probably do the math. Isn't it 18% of households that are open, right? Meaning this is open to anybody who wants to live there. No, it's not that. It's about 25% have children, and then about a third of those are elementary, but I don't know the details yet.
Okay,
So we could certainly share that with you when we get them from the school district.
thank you. And then just a clarifying question, detached, single family.
Yeah.
On the county assessor website, is that going to be identified as a townhome condo on the county assessor website, or will it be listed as a single family residence?
Excellent question. It is single family, but I don't know if it will be tagged as a townhome, and I don't know.
Gotcha. So how come you guys are advertising it as a townhome if it's not technically a townhome?
It is actually. It is a townhome by the way it's mapped. Let me go to. See that right there? There's the mapping. So, and this gets into the technical mapping part of this. And you can see that line that's joined, that makes it a townhome. Technically, on the mapping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your questions.
Jessica Bullard Nolan for the record. So you've met with the HOA, it looks like a couple times, for the neighboring HOA. What have their main concerns been and how they've been addressed?
We think we've addressed them. Does this pointer work, Kelly?
I don't believe it does, but I can hover over the slides if you can direct me.
Doesn't work. Okay, I see. It doesn't work because of the TV part, right? It's always comfortable to have a pointer in your hand and point where I want. The biggest thing was that corridor there on the west side. We have a gap between their rear property line and our rear property line. Exactly. Yeah. labeled as a wildlife corridor. It's a corridor forever who wants to go through there, right? And so that was a key issue about just access to the river is a big deal to them. They asked if they could join any of the amenities that we have, those improved amenities for the park-like features on the property, and we said, of course. And you know, everybody's concerned about price because of the way that affects their perceived value. So there's that. We talked about that. We started this with it. Frankly, I think they were surprised because when we started this back in that February meeting a couple of years ago, it was a more aggressive request. He was going to go to a multifamily and 14 to the acre. And we scaled the whole thing back down to, what is it, 82 lots now. So I think that was favorable to the community.
And what about the businesses and the neighborhoods other than the HOA that surround the project?
We haven't heard anything from anybody.
Cami LeRae for the record. Yeah, I just have a couple questions. So currently, in disclosure, I live off of Edinburgh. I'm like right across the
Just
street.
to the north, yeah.
I drive through the that roundabout every single day. And you know, right now with Oak Meadows, they're all one level. There's some 2-level homes, but it looks like these are all 2-story homes,
That's
correct?
Yes.
How does the vegetation sort of blend it in? I mean, I see the trees on this, but as the commute, I see that I'm going to be looking at a lot of 2-story houses. So is this vegetation plan pretty much baked in, or are you guys thinking about sort of preserving sort of the open space kind of feel of that little area right now in any other way than what you have on the map?
You're talking about the corridor there? On the
No, I'm
west?
just talking about the vista. So if you were just looking to the south as you, roll down the highway,
Right.
there's no really 2-story homes that are close to the road like this looks like it would be. So I'm just wondering from a trees perspective, from just a aesthetic perspective, if that has been taken into consideration, if you've heard about, this kind of feedback from homeowners. I'm sure that's been an uphill battle in some ways, but,
Yeah.
reaching out. But yeah, that's just, I'm just curious about that. And then I'm just going to piggyback the next question with Truckee Meadows Regional Planning. In looking this up, it looks like it's a critical source water protection area, and it wasn't really identified for any kind of development, at least in their projected development map that they currently have online. I don't know if it's the most recent. So as far as source water protection goes, can you speak a little bit to the hardscape materials, the ability for runoff to be absorbed versus going directly into the river?
I don't have a lot of detail on that. We have Mark Gukin on our team with TerraPhrase. He's a very accomplished, I would say the most accomplished surface water hydrologist in the region. Worked a lot with him because there is a certain level of sophistication needed to manage the stormwater here. And the concept is coming through that improved channel north of the highway that was done with the project of which you live in, and then comes through the culverts. You can sort of see where it traverses the roadway and then does go into the Truckee River.
Right, but as far as the hardscapes in the driveways and such, are those pavers? Are they permeable?
Those
Or is-
are
yeah.
pavers. Yeah. We do have narrower streets. I mean, if you look at all that kind of hardscape stuff, we're trying to that's all part of development footprints, right? Narrower roads. We don't need roads for speed and capacity, obviously, when you got a little pocket subdivision like this. So you kind of make it a little more cutesy pie, narrower roads, pocket parking, contain the parking to the lots primarily was the idea. So it's a little more well-kept in its appearance. And you can see that we're trying to manage hardscape in the way the thing has been conceptualized. That's very much intentional. And frankly, I'm one of these people that just has very little tolerance for these giant wide streets. And it's like, what are we doing here for neighborhood streets? So this is completely contrary to that concept. And frankly, it's built-in traffic calming when you have narrower streets like that. You know, private streets, you can sign them with yield signs and speed control signs and such. So I think it works pretty well. Am I getting your question?
Yes, well, it's, it's just the critical source water protection designation, just understanding what's been done with the plan to acknowledge that within the design itself, I think is really what I'm getting at.
Glad to take any ideas on plant material that you might have in mind. It sounds like that's something that's dear to your heart. We have discussed it with our landscape architect, Tree Hugger Studio, that's Rich Schock. We've been focused on tree selection primarily for canopy, but different intent, I think, than what you're talking about. I think. Thank you.
Megan Detmeyer for the record. Can you say more about the wildlife corridors there and what sort of surveys have been done or work has been done? Has it been in-house?
Could I ask a question? I lost my thought. You said critical source. What was the critical source reference guide you mentioned?
Yeah, that was the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Map, the natural resources map that's online right now.
Okay, but not wildlife, right?
No,
It's
this is
not a
the
wildlife
critical source water
corridor.
protection. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, pragmatically, I'm calling it a wildlife corridor, right? Not from a map and not from a study.
Okay, so have there been any studies that have been done to see if actual wildlife are using that area or?
Just by way of anecdotal evidence, right? I mean, a lot of people that live there and we know, Mr. Fitzgerald's owned this property for many years. You see, there used to be a deer habitat to the north. I'm not sure if that's how it was back in the day, but they definitely migrate to the river. And so we have that passage point to the west and east,
Okay.
But not, it's not, doesn't meet the criteria of which warrants study as a habitat area. It's not that. It's just a migration corridor.
Well, my master's degree was in wildlife corridors and studying mule deer and how ungulates navigate highways and roads. And from what I see here, that's a pretty narrow corridor. And to expect an ungulate that is a prey species to be comfortable navigating something of that width, I don't see that happening. And I'm sure Mr. Fitzgerald has a deep interest in maintaining the integrity of the wildlife on the landscape. So I would urge some caution and consideration in thinking about these corridors, because to me, that just looks like a path, especially if mule deer are used to walking freely where 79 or 89 townhomes are. There's definitely going to be some mortalities experienced on that highway if mule deer are in fact crossing it. I don't suppose to be an expert on mule deer in this area at all, but my research was in Utah, and I know how deer perform along highways.
I mean, I appreciate your knowledge and bringing this up, and I'm wondering if you want to have more influence on this, we can go to coffee, whatever you want to do. I'm dead serious because this has been a key thing. We're thinking, I think you have a unique academic credential and body of knowledge on what's a magic width for a corridor. We have 200 feet there and thinking we're doing absolutely the right thing. But I don't know the psychology of deer, nor does anybody else on the team about is 200 enough width. So there's.
I'm happy to have coffee with you and talk a little bit more.
Thank you.
Danny Martindale for the record.
Hi, Dan.
You were talking about the width of the street being narrow, and I can appreciate that for drainage and those kinds of things.
Yes.
But you also said that you were counting on 203 parking spaces on those streets.
Only, what was it? Let me go back to that. I think it was like 45, isn't it?
No, 203 parking on street parking is what you.
That's driveway.
Okay.
That's driveway, yeah. So the
How
actual
wide are the
street
streets gonna be?
itself is 15, and then the pockets, right? You can see the pockets kind of, nose in parking. Those are the 45.
So that's what you're talking about, is up around the upper perimeter?
That's right.
So is there parking in front of homes?
Not on the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cami LeRae for the record. Would this be governed by an HOA?
Yes, because we have the common area and that leads into HOA, yes.
So I had a question, Bryce Chisholm, I had a question about the power line.
Yeah.
And so I had heard that the conditional use permit had expired. Is that so, or?
If you know that to be true, you're a step ahead of us because we don't know that to be true. We made an application. I've been talking to Jeremy Smith, the Executive Director of Regional Planning, and his staff. And there was never any mention. We were just kind of gearing up for their look at this. And
So you do have an easement or something going through there?
we have an easement, and then this is, there's the regional piece, which is this CUP goes to regional planning for their review in the context of the regional utility corridor.
Okay. I am glad to see something about the parking because there was a project we had here last year and the driveways were 5 feet or something like that. And so there was no parking in the driveway. And so to see that you have garage and driveway is nice.
Thank you. I think it's necessary. And I mean, it's always, you look at size of units, pricing, and there's always cars. I mean, it's just necessary. And sometimes there's a project I've worked on and that it wouldn't come to you guys. I think it is North. Doesn't matter. They're coming back now to add parking because they got aggressive on coverage with the reduced parking rates, that the code allows. But there's always the market side of parking, which is really important to the project success and minimizing impact to the adjacent neighborhoods. Can you imagine people parking in the shoulder on Verdi Road on Old Highway 40?
Yeah, you definitely don't want that.
You don't want that.
And I'll just say, I don't know anything about your permit or anything like that. So, but
You heard that from somebody, huh?
no,
Yeah.
it was just, people were having an issue. I've heard issues about moving the power line. So I was just wondering where you guys were at with that.
Concern about moving the power line?
Yeah.
I'll be damned. And it seems like it's more in keeping with infrastructure when you put it next to the street. That's been our pitch, and that's been embraced by everybody that's had an opinion on it, rather than going through the beautiful heart of that property. So I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your comments.
Jessica Bullard Nolan for the record. Sorry, I had another question.
Of course.
In terms of if you do have to relocate the regional utility corridor, who's going to be absorbing the costs? And has there been potential joint trench agreements with other utility providers to assist with this?
So that is Mr. Fitzgerald writing a massive check to pay for the costs of the utility line relocation. That's its own easement because it's a transmission line, right? So there's no joint trench in that case. It's overhead lines, and there's a utility corridor, a utility easement that's established national standards by NV Energy, and we just accept those and build them into the project. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, I just have one piggyback. With the possible relocation, what is the impact for the neighborhoods around it if power gets disrupted?
I'm not sure I understand. You're talking about what's going on with these brownouts and that.
More like if something has to be shut off for the relocation for a period of time, what is the impact or kind of plan around or workarounds for the surrounding areas that are already established?
I don't have, this is transmission, so this project doesn't get any, right? This is just transmission, not just as a transmission line is kind of a big deal. It serves the rest of the community. There's no linkage between this project being interrupted. I'm not sure where to go with that. Yeah. I'd have to check with, we're dealing with a utility planner and engineer at transmission line engineer at NV Energy. I'd be glad to get back, take your phone numbers, go to coffee, all of this stuff, and get answers on these things. They're all important.
Just one more, Bryce Chisholm.
Please.
So does that new proposed NV Energy line have to do, about a year ago, they came to this board and they were talking about putting the line through Dog Valley over to like Cold Springs? Is that the part of the proposed line?
I don't know that, but based on that description, it sure sounds like it, right?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of transmission lines.
Yeah, because they had proposed
yeah.
putting a secondary line that ran through, across and over through Dog Valley as a secondary site, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just wondering if that's part of that line, but
No,
okay.
yeah. Cammie's saying no. She's aware of the line you're describing. Yeah. Again, that didn't come up in any of our discussions, so you know what I mean?
Okay.
Any additional questions or comments for the applicant's representative?
Camilla Ray for the record. I'm really pleased that you're so willing to chat about the wildlife corridor and become more informed about how to make it like truly a functional corridor. So thank you for that.
Of course,
I
yeah.
think that, being in the area for as long as Mr. Fitzgerald has and knowing how those deer come down across the highway there is, that would be a wonderful, wonderful gesture. And I know that these gestures are not cheap gestures, but thank you for the willingness
Of
to sit
course,
down
yeah.
and
I'm
consider
gonna
that.
go to coffee with Ms. Megan. Yeah.
All right, if that's all for Mr. Krompottek, we'll move to public comment. I have one public comment card. Mr. Mac Rossi, if there's anyone else in the Zoom who would like to make comment, please raise your hand and we will move to you next.
Good evening. My name is Mac Rossi. I'm a resident in Northwest Reno. To keep it really short, while you've seen all the presentations on this development for the HOAs, they haven't come to the CAB yet, the County Advisory Board. We meet every other month, third Monday of that month, and it's coming up, and this development will be on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rossi. We will move on to our public commenters in Zoom. Kathy, you're up first. Please unmute your mic and state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Kathy Scholl. Thank you for having me on again. I think that there's been a lot of good work in here. I too appreciate the thinking about the wildlife corridor and having deer and other wildlife being able to access the river. I wasn't sure if whether besides the river being a people have public access to that. Is that Washoe County open to the public? And if it is, well, then that west side, it showed that there was some parking. Will that the east side of the development, will that allow cars for the public, other people living in Verdi to be able to come down to the river and enjoy that space besides just the people in the HOA next door? So any comments you can make on that would be great, or considerations would be helpful so other people from the surrounding area can access the river.
Thank you, Kathy. Next up, we have Beth Dory. Beth Dory, when you're ready, unmute your mic, state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. Beth, we can't hear you if you're speaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Perfect. First of all, I'm just so impressed with the NAB members. Such smart questions. I'm concerned about how, even though you encourage the narrow roads, it seems like a fire engine would have a hard time navigating all of that. And I see 2 points of entry, but those corners seem so tight. Has the fire marshal reviewed all this? Can fire engines navigate all that?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah,
Dory,
Is
yeah.
that the end of your comment, Beth?
that is. Thank you.
We are meeting with engineering staff on Friday. That will no doubt come up. I don't know that it will come up as a problem, but it will certainly come up in terms of fire marshal review, public works review, community development review on the roadway geometry, turning radiuses, fire access, all of that. So we have competent engineering team that designed it per the code. We trust that it's okay, but we won't know until later this week. Can I share one more exhibit? There's been so much discussion about this. It's a key, absolute key amenity. And Mr. Fitzgerald just brought to my attention the zoning map. You know, that is all, see that zoning map, the bright one there, yellow and red. If you could go to that, oh, I guess I can, huh? Look at that band of green adjacent to the project. That is all Washoe County Park land that is an unimproved corridor, primarily for wildlife. So that's, I guess I missed saying that. I was focused on the east and west because we have more control of that, but that is the park land owned by Washoe County that is open space. So obviously key to the project and everybody that benefits from proximity to the river.
Yeah, Cami Larray for just a point of discussion on that. So I believe that the Washoe County just, I think it's in the far east portion of that green area, developed a parking lot with access for people to be able to continue to access the remainder of the green. I wouldn't call it a you know, functioning as a wildlife corridor per se, but for people to access that green space, there is a parking lot. Washoe County just built it, and they've actually been promoting it relatively heavy as river access for boaters and such.
Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, John. Alrighty, is there any additional discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, we will move to item C. This is board, commission, committee member reports and announcements. If there's anyone who serves on another City of Reno board that would like to make an announcement to the rest of the NAB, please feel free to take this time. All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to item D, future agenda items. If there's anything you would like to request of staff to see on future agendas, please feel free to unmute your mic and state your name for the record.
Can we get any updates on projects that have happened over the last year? Like the light on the top of Keystone and McCarran and the widening and updates of Kings Row, things like that?
So kinds of public work projects.
Correct.
Sure, we'll make a note of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Cami Larray for the record. I think that the ADU vote is coming up here pretty soon from council, maybe planning commission. I'm not sure where it is in that process, but I think that a lot of talk, at least in my neighborhood, is if the ADU becomes an ordinance, how does that interplay with CC&Rs, existing rules, and with the extreme case of, you know, if it supersedes it, or if the CC&R supersede it, you know, then who is the mitigator of ADUs in those kind of instances? I think that there's just a lot of concern in my neighborhood just around all of those particulars, and they're probably still getting ironed out. But in a future agenda, probably not the next one, but when it's timely and all ironed out, I would love to see that.
Sure, we're happy to connect you with the staff member that's heading up that item as well. Any other future agenda items? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to item E, public comment. If there's anyone in chambers who would like to make public comment under this item, please let us know. Is there anyone in the Zoom meeting who would like to make public comment? If so, please raise your hand. All right, first up, we'll have Mac Rossi in chambers.
For the record, Mac Rossi again, back again. How are you? I just want to make a couple of comments. I wasn't going to make any presentation on this, but I'm a resident of Reno, Northwest. What you might not know is that the city of Reno doesn't require these developers to come with a presentation. The county has a different concept. Their concept, if you get together and until everybody's on the same page, nothing moves ahead. We've seen a couple of developments come to the city council, to the NAB here. And you get an opportunity to fill out a form, submit it to the planning commission. And sometimes you might be happy with it, sometimes you might be sad. I've followed a couple of the developments the way they were presented here. And when it gets to the planning commission, we look and say, is this the same development that was just presented before? Just want to make you aware of it. I'm not going to be negative over it, but I think that you should be aware of these kind of concepts. Like again, the CAB has a different concept because of the county. They have a tremendous program where everybody has to be on the same page. The NAB before had presentations from the county on how the city could possibly do it. You could hear crickets. Nothing was changed. The CAB meets again every other month, third Monday of the month at 6 o'clock. As I said before, if you looked at whole presentation where it had contacted all the HOAs and the community, which was one of the ladies here that the lady here that represents that community, it did come on as a very negative development. That's for you to decide or whether you want, but you might want to join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mac. I do not have any other requests to speak forms. We do not have any Zoom attendees who have their hand raised. So the next item is item F, adjournment. If there is someone who would like to make a motion to adjourn, then second, that's how we'll move on with that item.
Bryce Chisholm will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Cami Larray, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.